But restoring price stability when inflation is high can require measures that are not popular in the short term as we raise interest rates.
Okay. Hello, welcome to Financial Stockholm. I'm Christopher Crystal. Today is Thursday, February 3rd, 2023. And this is what we're seeing in Scandinavia, what the news is and the effect or impact for the market, how you could interpret it, and what to expect. So in Sweden, we were waiting for the US Fed to make their interest rate decision. And when it happened of 25 basis points, that was right in line with what the market was looking for. Europe has now come in with a 50 basis point rate hike. And this is again in line with what we're looking for. And so the Swedish market continues to trade positively. Forget about the earnings reports. All we're looking for is theory working out as theory should. That's how the market's behaving. And so the inflation in Europe is a little higher, so you have to raise the rates at a higher pace or faster pace than you would in the US. The US is still far away from their targets of inflation, but they're seeing the quote unquote decline in the rate, the inflation rate. So they're thinking that you can start to slow the rate cycle. That way you won't kill the economy. So in the past, the Swedish RiksBank, when we had Stefan Ingves, our former Swedish RiksBank head, he would follow and stay in line with what the ECB was doing. We have a new RiksBank head, so we'll see what he does, how he responds, if he does it by 25 or if he goes for 50 to keep in line with the ECB. The likelihood is that he would probably stay in line with the ECB because we've had very high inflation. We continue to have high food prices. We did start to see that the retail or housing market in January started to lift again. We have seen, we do have still high electricity prices, high diesel prices, but they're not as high as they had been. So we'll see what the reaction is from the Swedish RiksBank. You know, we've seen that the technology companies, they're all saying it's going to be a bad quarter, a couple bad quarters. They're firing people. And then you saw the banks are doing relatively well. That's tied to the interest rates. But on the business side, with the industrials, they're dealing with higher cost. We haven't seen a lot of the layoffs coming there yet, but I think we will. FEDEX, again, you know, remember FEDEX warned about how they were doing and they laid off the general employees. Now they're laying off 10% of management. They're closing down locations and they have a hiring freeze. So as a business barometer, FEDEX giving out these figures is really not a good sign for the market. So again, this is a market trading not on fundamentals, but more on perception. You know, in Sweden, we're seeing increased rate of bankruptcies like you're seeing in Germany. We're seeing the energy crisis is a negative impact, but the market continues up. And so with that, with the market and the reporting, Spotify, one of Sweden's biggest companies, now that we no longer own Swedish Match, and that's been a huge loss for the Swedish kind of sense of soul. You have Spotify kind of filling that role now as a Swedish company. Daniel Ek, he's come out with positive comments. And you saw Spotify trading up after their announcement and after laying off 600 employees, something like 6% of the company. Well, now they're releasing the stories that were released in October, November in the United States press talking about Daniel Ek's investments, but now the Swedish press is talking about his investments. So they're talking about a healthcare company that he has, and they're talking about a defense AI technology company that he has, and his holding in a company that's also a healthcare company called KRY, K-R-Y, and these are online healthcare solutions. So we'll see what happens there. But then what I would say is you'll probably see increase into the online healthcare. Pharmaceuticals are going to be raising drug prices. So probably in Sweden, we'll see, as you know, that's a large percentage of our exports. We do the packaging and we do the pharmaceuticals. These will be this will continue to be a sector for Swedish investors. So it's a little early for the champagne, but it's enough for a market rally on the prices. We do see that the coffee prices come down slightly. And, as I mentioned about the Swedish housing prices, so in the Stockholm area, they started to decline a little bit, or not decline, but come back up. So this is a lagom, what Swedes like to call just enough to make it just right, kind of like a Goldilocks. And Sweden thinks that they're the only ones with this phrase, but this is actually a Latin derivative, and has written about quite a bit, but most Swedes are unaware of that, so they'll tell you that. But it's we're kind of in this lagom Goldilocks kind of scenario. So we're also in Sweden dealing with our decline in our society, where we have an increase in violence. We have a lot of shootings, we have a lot of explosions, we have the crimes being committed by different ethnic groups that tend to be the same group on a regular basis. And so there's a lot of discussion there about how to handle this. And there's no real integration program set up to really integrate people to make it actually effective. But so the justice minister came out and gave a speech today because we had this Koran burning a couple of weeks ago in front of the Turkish embassy. And this has really put a target on Swedish society. You have just as an example, you have the Chechen warlord who is in the Ukraine, has said how Sweden is a godless or Satanistic country. You have Erdogan saying the same thing. So both our enemies and our allies are saying the same thing about Sweden. And so that's why our justice minister was out talking this morning about the safety of Sweden and how we're doing, and if we do have a target on ourselves, and we would be a terrorist target. And unfortunately, a lot of this discussion tends to indicate that the homegrown ISIS people that we had, who we raised them here in Sweden, they went off and they fought for ISIS, they were allowed back into Sweden, that these people would then be the ones who would possibly do these acts of terrorism. So we have to confront that issue and see what happens. And they have extended prison stays or sentences that these people would have to serve. So our security services, our security police, SAPO, are on high alert and monitoring everything, and we'll see what happens. We also have a press conference later today with our Swedish Prime Minister and Sanna Marin from Finland. And I don't think they're going to talk about the ice skater from Finland over the weekend. I think they're going to leave that to the jokes about how poorly that person skated and fell, and really should not have been out on the ice. But whatever, that's Finland for you. So they'll probably be talking more about the NATO as opposed to figure skating. And remember, the market is really now trading more based on perception and economic theory and things working in accordance with the theory. It's not trading on fundamentals. When you have these companies that are saying that recession is likely and then they're firing people and that they don't see a healthy business climate, that's not a reason to invest usually. You want to invest in things that are looking good and things that will be good. So right now, this is based on theory, and theory working in the way they want it to work as opposed to the fundamentals. So you can always make money in the market. You can go long, you can go short. You can have long-term strategies, you can have short-term strategies, but you can always make money in the market. And so talk to your advisor, develop your strategy. Hopefully this helps you, and you like and subscribe, and we'll wish you a great day. And thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.